My name is Katie Stratton, and I'm preparing this midterm oral assignment for Psych 516 DO2 taught by Dr. Benjamin Wood at Liberty University online. All concepts discussed in this presentation are pulled directly from our course textbook by Jackson Britt. Question 1 is in regarding to the history of the field, and it's interesting that the interest in human behavior in organizational settings can actually be dated all the way back to ancient times. However, the scientific study of the field is dated back to the early 1900s. And since that time, the evolution of the field has been influenced by many historical events. For instance, World War II was a major event that influenced the field greatly. And specifically, it influenced the human relations perspective. Now, more recent events include technology advancement, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, 2008 recession, and increasing globalization. Today, I'd like to talk specifically about the 9/11 terrorist attacks and how that event impacted the field, as it was an event that I lived through, and I personally was able to experience the way it shifted the organizations that I was a part of. So in the most direct way, perhaps, that event shaped the field is in the area of emergency preparedness. The organizations at that time that had an emergency preparedness plan in place ended up saving a lot of lives. So this event basically just brought an awareness of the necessity for that. Additionally, the recession that followed the 9/11 terrorist attacks, with the war and everything that was going on, increased research on unemployment and job security. So, as we know, historical events will continue to shape the field as time goes on. For instance, what we're experiencing right now as a worldwide pandemic, COVID-19, I am interested to see how that could shape the field and how it will influence research. Also, how it ties into the use of technology, because most people are, if they're not essential, are at home right now and working from home and using technology in order to continue working. So question 2 is in regard to socialization, which is a main concept that we learned so far this semester in this course. And it is defined as the process which individuals learn culture and the purpose of an organization. And without socialization, employees will not be full-pledged to the organization. So it's super important. Just as an example, my experience at Liberty University is that I believe that Liberty does they're really successful in their socialization process for newcomers. I believe they're really strategic in the recruitment process, which is the first step in socialization, or organizations that can be the first step. So, for instance, I went to Liberty for undergrad and did well in undergrad and loved undergrad, and so when I was looking for master's programs, I would get calls from them, and the way that they would reach out and follow up was really strategic. Now, once recruited, there's 3 main aspects of socialization that I believe Liberty University is really good at utilizing. The first one is learning culture, which I believe is done through many ways at Liberty, including course requirement checklist that we have to do before each course. It really puts the values and the culture out there, and it's actually asking the student to agree with those values and culture to even be able to complete the course and move on with studies. In addition to that, I would just say how awesome all the professors are at Liberty University with emailing and announcements, including verses, and just a culture of encouragement and uplifting in keeping that shared value of faith in that Christian value that we all hold. So the second one is learning task-related values, which I believe is done really well through Blackboard and the way every course is set up to learn in that way. The third is gaining social knowledge, and I believe this could be difficult as it's an online school. However, I think they do really well even with their online program. So the way I've experienced this done is through every class starts with the course info. There's also an about the professor section, and also through discussion boards we are required to talk with and communicate with other students. So it's gaining those social ties and getting to know one another, and just learning how to appropriately connect with each other in a professional manner. So all three of these things definitely create a sense of embeddedness to Liberty University, just creating those shared values, and it decreases the chance of leaving, which is something embeddedness does. So in my example of going to undergrad at Liberty and continuing with master's is an example of embeddedness being true for me personally at Liberty. Question 3 is in regard to work-family conflict, which is personally maybe my favorite area of study in industrial organizational psych so far in this course, as I'm pretty passionate about the health of employees and a balance between different aspects of their life, which everyone has a life outside of work, and family life and work life impact each other bidirectionally. So organizations can reduce and prevent work-family conflicts through work-family policies and benefits. Examples of work-family policies include elder care, parenting, and education. Examples of work-family benefits include on-site daycares, exercise facilities, and various medical and leave benefits. Secondly, super important is family supportive supervisors. They are super influential in role modeling and managing work-family conflict. And this is really important because even if an organization has these policies in place, if the supervisor is not supportive of them, then it creates a cultural norm that increases work-family conflict. So ensuring proper supervisor training is something I would do if hired in a situation like this. And this is shown to increase job satisfaction and therefore improve work performance and reduce turnover. So it's a win-win for the organizations and the employees. The fourth question is in regard to job performance assessment, which is also a highly studied topic in this field. And job performance can be defined simply with by all of the behaviors employees engage in at work. So if I were asked to develop a performance assessment program to adequately evaluate employee performance in a way that's as comprehensive as possible, I'd definitely refer to Murphy's List, which includes a paper pencil test, job skills test, on-site hands-on testing, off-site hands-on testing, high-fidelity stimulations, symbolic stimulations, task ratings, and global ratings. Now, these are 8 different ways that you can assess performance, and the 2 most common methods are ratings of employees' performance on specific tasks or overall performance of the job. So if I were to do this, I like the idea of specifically rating the overall performance of the entire job, because doing this helps decrease the likelihood of the 3 main sources of error that are discussed in the course textbook. So, and how you can do this is by assessing in-rule and extra-rule performance, and it's by having employees, coworkers, and supervisors all fill out this assessment that asks questions about different aspects of an employee's performance. So question 5 has to do with how organizational constraints lead to counterproductive work behavior. So just some examples of common organizational constraints could include, just some things I thought of are insufficient equipment, inadequate support from supervisors or anyone higher up, CEOs, or even employees, and a limited budget could be another example. In these situations, counterproductive work behavior may be a reaction to the emotions people feel. So our course textbook talked a lot about how this is really driven by the emotions that are experienced in these frustrating situations. So, and it has to do with when people feel little control over a situation. That is when, over their environment, that is when these behaviors may come out. And our course textbook referred to the stressor emotion model, which is the idea that I just proposed about the negative emotions coming out based on feeling lack of control. So reducing these organizational constraints could therefore reduce the counterproductive work behavior. Now, this does not condone counterproductive work behavior to explain it in this way. In fact, it's really important to ask the question of why when there's counterproductive work behavior there, because it could be due to organizational constraints as exampled, which can be fixed. Those constraints can be changed and improved upon, and then the counterproductive work behaviors will be reduced. So that comes to the end of this midterm oral exam. Thank you for your time and for listening. And again, I will just say that all concepts discussed in this exam come right from the course text by Jex and Britt, which is the 3rd edition of Organizational Psychology, a scientist practitioner approach. Thank you.